Hello, everybody. My music wasn't coming through at the last minute, so I ditched the music. But welcome to Mysterious Forces Live. Here we are, Friday. We're into October. It's Friday, October 12th, and it's starting to cool off here in Arizona and in other places, and it's starting to feel like autumn. It's really pleasant. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. I want to give a quick shout out at the top of the show to Doc Skinner, 1028 Productions, and the community of Pine Top, Arizona. I went to Disclosure Con last week and was there Friday and Saturday, and I met a lot of people. I had a booth. It was very successful. I had a great interview with Travis Walton that we're going to be posting on the channel next week, so keep an eye out for that. And we did some other interviews, and we attempted a few live streams that didn't work. So we're still on a learning curve on that, but it was sketchy Wi-Fi there, way, way up in the mountains. But we had a great time at Disclosure Con. I made new friends. I actually had people who said that they subscribed to the show, to the channel, just because of Doc Skinner and seeing him on there. And the program for the event was really cool. I'm going to show it to you here. It was done in comic book format, and I want to give a shout out to Jessica Stevens because she was a sponsor of Disclosure Con, and Jessica helped pay for this, or did pay for these, and you can see that the different sponsors and the different people who appeared in like a comic book character form. That's the Navajo Nation Ghostbusters that were there. And there's yours truly on the back page. It was very nice, and because there were these places in the program for autographs, people kept coming up to me and asking me for my autograph, not because I'm famous or I'm a celebrity, because I'm certainly not, but because there was an inducement to get autographs from the people who were speaking at the event and appearing at the event. And, you know, I got caught up in that, but it was really humbling for someone to come up to me and ask me for my autograph. I've not really had that happen before. And I just want to say that the local folks in Pine Top and Lakeside that came out to Disclosure Con were so nice. And it was a good event. We had good neighbors. Lauren Blowers was there. I have to tell a quick story. I have a great guest tonight. I want to get to my guest, but I just have to tell this story because it's too funny. So they had a press room set up adjacent to the conference room. And you know, when you go into a hotel or a resort, they have those modular walls that move around and they can kind of put them where they want them. Well, they had made a media room and put up a couple of couches so that you could do video interviews, and it looked a little more swanky and you weren't stuck out in the hallway. So they had given us a block of time to go in there and do an interview, and I'm setting up for Travis Walton. And I'm moving furniture around, I'm moving lights around, and I see this cord that's plugged into the wall, and it comes out of the wall. It's a black cord, and it goes, and it just disappears behind one of those modular walls. And I'm like, well, you know, I need an outlet. I don't need that. I don't know where that's going. And so I unplug it, and I plug our stuff in there, our equipment. And I fiddled with something, and then I left the room. And as I got about 10 paces outside of the room, here comes Doc Skinner and 3 or 4 other guys running as fast as they can past me and running into the room yelling, "Did you unplug it?" And Michael Moriarty was in the room, and he was like, "No, I didn't," because he was being honest. He did not. And I heard that, and I knew they were taking care of it, and what I was taking care of was important as well. And what I had done unwittingly was I had unplugged the entire electrical circuit for the stage. And Mike Barra from Ancient Aliens was on stage, and he was doing his presentation. And I shut down the PA system, the amplifiers. I shut down his computer. I shut down the whole rig, and was greatly embarrassed when I realized what I had done. But in my defense, there was no label on that outlet. So the one event of Disclosure Con, Mike Barry giving a presentation, I'm back in a room like a doofus, and I unplugged the whole rig. And it caused chaos. He was giving a talk about JFK, and I'd heard that he was at this pivotal moment in the talk when he was talking about the smoke coming from the gun on the grassy knoll, and then boom, everything went out, and that was me. So I apologized to Mike more than once, and he was super gracious. And Doc Skinner did not kill me. He was super gracious, and people were forgiving. So that was just a funny moment from that, and I wanted to share that because I wanted to explain what happened a little bit. Anyway, on to tonight's show. I have a wonderful guest. This person, Cheryl Costa. She is amazing. She won Researcher of the Year at the International UFO Congress here in the Phoenix area this year, 2018. She's a military veteran of 2 services. She's a retired aerospace security engineer. She's a playwright. She's a columnist, and she has her own podcast on a digital network as well. She's the author of UFO Sightings Desk Reference, and we're going to talk about that a lot. Thank you for being on the show, Cheryl Costa. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So I first of all want to thank you for being here from Syracuse, New York. You're on the East Coast, and it really is midnight your time, and I know that you go to bed early and you stayed up late to do the show, and I just appreciate your willingness to do that.
Happy to do it.
Can you tell folks a little bit about the UFO Sightings Desk Reference and how that tied into you winning the Researcher of the Year award at the UFO Congress?
Well, what happened was I'd been a columnist for the Syracuse New Times for a couple of years, and always had to have something to write about every week. And sometimes I started adding up the numbers of sightings in different counties and things like this. And at one point in 2015, I was actually it was in 2015, I was at the International UFO Congress, and a professor came up to me during one of the mixers and asked me if I could compile New York State sighting data, since I had both MUFON and New Fork data. And he asked me if I could compile it and put county information with it so we could actually drill down to the county level, because that information wasn't in the databases. And I said I'd give it a try, and it took my spouse and I about 4 months to do New York State, because we didn't know what we were doing. And but we wrote process down. So at the end of the year, around October of 2015, we were sitting in a pub, and we had shared some of our data with some of the New York State investigators. And they were blown away, because suddenly they were seeing clusters where they didn't know there were any. So we looked across at each other and said, what if we did the whole country? And we sat there and stared at each other across our pints for about 20 minutes, because it was a crazy idea. My God, it's going to take us a year to do it. It took 18 months. And we crunched all the data for the entire United States. And it's not just like loaded in and spit stuff out. The databases were dirty. They didn't match each other, so we had to match them. We had to add county data. We had to clean the data. It took a while. We wrote a process down. If we had to do it now, we could probably do the whole thing in about 6 months. But then we really we're moving very slowly. Plus, we were also working only on weekends. We both had day jobs. I'm now retired, so I could put more time into it if I had to do it again. But that was the effort. We decided to make a statistics book, and it's got no cute little aliens on the cover. It's got charts, graphs, and tables, and has all the charm of a bank ledger.
That's great, though. You know, that's really important work. Do you know if any organizations have adopted it and are actually using it in their research and reporting?
I know certain people, certain research individuals have used the book extensively. I know a lot of MUFON investigators have because we included National UFO Reporting Center along with the Mutual UFO Network data. Mutual UFO data was only about 30% of the database. So if they wanted to go to particularly whatever state they were in and they were going to go investigate a sighting in a particular county for the first time, instead of spending hours online trying to get it out of the system, they could flip open the book and there is an accounting for the first 15 years of the 21st century, telling them exactly what that county had from both databases.
Wow. Did you have any surprising trends, things you didn't expect to see in the data that came to the forefront?
Oh, yeah. Now, people will hear me say certain things that are going to, and I frequently get, well, duh, Cheryl, everybody knows that. No, not everybody knows that, not until we generated those charts. We know that sightings seem to be driven by, okay, everybody's going to say, well, population, well, population, temperate weather, leisure time, and time of day are the four major drivers. And we found out about the temperate weather thing because if you're in a state like New York State, July and August are through the roof. And then there's this quiescent little amount of sightings the rest of the year. We thought it was like that everywhere, the summertime sightings, as they say. I generated all the charts. Linda was putting the book together and she looked over her terminal at me. And she's the real brains behind the book. She's got the science degrees. Okay, and you should have her on sometime. Okay,
sure.
She has a completely different tack now. Hey, I've got the arts and entertainment degree. I'm the song and dance person with the cane and top hat, and I'm a journalist, But she said we're going to have a reference book, no cute aliens. It's going to be facts, no stories, no anecdotals, no stories. Okay, so what did we find? We found out that when you move down into the middle level states, like the mid-Atlantic states and go across the country, that peak of July and August starts to flatten down. And then when you get down to the deep South states, like Arizona, Florida, Texas, it's statistically flat like a picket fence.
Interesting.
And we didn't know that. Nobody knew that. Until about 3 months ago, we didn't know that 60 to 70% of the sightings are reported between 5 o'clock and 11:30 at night.
Wow.
And about 40% are through the daytime. And there is a dip between the 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock hour, and that's morning drive time.
Wow. Wow. Are you?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, one thing we didn't know, because we put county data in there, we were able to define of over 3,000 counties in the United States. Los Angeles County is number one. With the 2001 to 2015 numbers, it was 3,212 sightings reported, and that's more than 40 individual states by themselves. Just one county, okay? And I'm saying LA County, not the city, okay? And the second largest county for sightings in the United States is Maricopa County, Arizona. Okay. And the goofy thing is, in our book, it says it was around 2,000 sightings. We found out after the book was published that about 500 people in the database had spelled Phoenix differently. They'd spelled it, instead of a P-H-O-E, they spelled it P-H-E-O. And we had 535 records that had the P-H-E-O. So we've since corrected that. And if we do an update to the book, we're going to be able to change that and everything. So Maricopa County between 2001 to 2015 had about 2,500 sightings. And that's more than 36 individual states.
Wow. Those are amazing statistics. I love this stuff. This is the meat of ufology right here, because between this kind of intensive work, this kind of research, and I don't know, I know Richard Dolan a little bit, and but I'm a big fan of what he does, and I like all of the documents. I like facts. I like statistics, because I feel like those are really gonna. When in the future, when we get to a disclosure moment, if that happens, or if we get to a post-disclosure moment, I think people are going to look back and they're going to rely on the people who were providing real data, real facts, instead of like crazy whacked out stories. And that's not to say that I don't believe experiencers.
Oh.
There are plenty of valid experiencers out there, Travis Walton being chief among them.
I love Travis. I love Travis. He is such a sweet gentleman, and I've interviewed him twice, and I hope to interview him again sometime in the future.
Yes. No, he was so gracious. And have you been able to interface any of this data with like the National UFO Reporting Center or anyone else who's doing database? I know on Twitter.
No, I use their data.
Oh, you use their data.
I download. Okay, here's how this happened. We decided to do 2001 through 2015, strictly 21st century numbers. Okay.
Got it.
And there's a little cute story that goes with that. The cute story is Linda did, everybody, all the UFO books that were out there always seemed to be about a crash here, a crash there. And it sounded like an FM radio station, the best UFO crashes from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It was like that,
Right.
And Linda said, let's do something really different. Let's move into the 21st century and do current data. And we had a good reason for doing that, because all the data from about 1960 to about 1999, up until about 1995, there weren't more than about 500 sightings a year in the database. And then it started creeping up as broadband became available in 95 and started moving up to, with National UFO Reporting Center, around 3,000 a year, right around 99, 2000 time frame. MUFON's was almost non-existent. It was a few hundred sightings. That was it. So we chose 2001 to 2015 as a sample and said, we'll do this. If we do another book, if we're going to do like a rolling 5 years type of thing, we'll go from 2005 to 2020, something like that. That's kind of what the plan is. I've already added 2016, 2017 data, and the numbers are a little different. Give an example. The national number for reported UFO sightings between the two databases was about 121,000 sightings. Okay. And that blew a lot of media people away when they heard that. And then adding the next two numbers, it's now up around 140,000. It's 139,836, something like that. And but the numbers are falling off. They've been falling off for 3 years now.
Really?
Yeah. And I've written articles about it, and I've had my share of what I'm going to call mansplainers on the internet and on social media tell me all the reasons why they're falling off. And people are looking at their phones. It's politics. People are bored with it. Disclosure didn't really come, or disclosure came back last December 16th, that kind of thing. I have my own theories about it. I think a little bit of the political chaos we have in the country right now is distracting people to some degree. It's been going on for about 2 years. Or there's another thing I've been considering. Maybe the Men in Black were padding our sighting databases for a couple of years. And now there's a big movement in the intelligence community to get the real word out and to give us disclosure. Okay. And maybe they stop padding the database. That's
an interesting thought. That's fascinating. Do you
just from my observations, but I mean, I can't prove it, but it sort of seems that way. Especially if you talk to Steve Bassett and he tells you how much the intelligence complex wants to get this out.
Right. Yeah, there seemed to be a shift. Do you think there was an uptick in sightings after TTSA released the videos last December?
No.
That didn't do anything?
No.
That's interesting.
What we have found, though, is there are actually, to tell you the truth, of 40 different shapes that are out there. Mm-hmm. All of them have fallen off drastically. Some just plummeted, except 3. And those 3 are tracking together and have been on the increase. And I talked to Lou Elizondo, the guy who ran program at the Pentagon, and I showed him my chart. And I interviewed him back in February, but I showed him the chart when I was at the MUFON symposium in July. And I said, is there a new team in town? Are there just some new
Yes.
kids on the block here? Look at these numbers are going up. And he looked at the thing. He got a real serious look on his face. He says, "Can I keep this?"
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Are black triangles amongst those
no.
shapes? No.
In fact, they've been plummeting as well. The three shapes are the Saturn shaped ships. The Saturn shaped ones are huge. Okay, we have an example of this back in 1986. The Japan Airlines freighter that was coming over, it had a half a mile wide Saturn shaped ship. It had kept flying around it, so they're like a big bay ship. Okay, the other ones are the teardrop ones, which are just I'm going to say it's about the size of a school bus, and then there are the egg shaped ones that are like like the proverbial VW microbus kind of thing. And I think that's the two-man freighter, two-being freighter, or a scout ship, and the teardrop shapes as a shuttle, and the Saturn shapes are a bay ship. And the funny thing is that their sighting numbers correlate with each other.
Wow.
I can't prove it. But it's just a suggestion from the numbers.
Have you ever gotten tempted to take a look at the data and compare this to data that ties UFO sightings into other types of phenomena, such as cryptid sightings, Sasquatch, paranormal activity?
No, there's nothing to compare it to. That's the problem. I have just sighting data. There's no, most of the time, there's no information like latitude and longitude. Nobody's telling you the angle it was in the sky. Half the time, you're lucky if they'll even fill in the city that, let's see, 3.8% of the people who reported those 121,000 sightings didn't even bother to put in the name of the city they were in, or they didn't fill out the time. So it defaulted to a time. So we lose that information. We have tried to see, people kept telling me, well, Cheryl, they hang around the military bases. Well, actually, they don't. Most of the bases are reserve bases, Air National Guard bases, that sort of thing. They don't hang around there. Now, if it's an active Air Force base or an active Navy base where all the high technology is, there's some sightings around that, but not based on my database. I got that from Lou Elizondo from the Pentagon. Okay. They say, well, they're hanging around our nuclear power station. So I've got the address, the 55 nuclear power stations, and that's all we've got in the country is 55. And I looked them up by city and county, and the numbers don't support it.
Wow. That's fascinating. I just want to say something to my audience. For you hardcore ufology buffs out there, let this be a lesson. Don't make assumptions. First of all, buy Cheryl's book and take a look at the data yourself. But look at the data. Stop listening to the crazy new agey stories that talk about, I don't know, I just don't go for the people who are saying they know why they're here, they know what the agenda is, they know blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear any of that. I want to hear facts. I want to hear data. And this kind of thing is exactly what I love. So I'm just speaking to my audience. Look at the data, look at the facts that are collected, and then use your own judgment about which way you want to navigate through these personal stories. Cheryl, are you making any kind of differentiation between the types of sightings, whether they're at a distance or up close or any other kind of
no, that kind of data doesn't exist in the database. Or it wasn't available to us. Okay. All we collected was the personal information was secret on both databases, obviously. Okay. And we don't know why. So I'm not going to get a Nobel Prize for telling you why they're here. But what we collected was what, when, and where. Okay. So we've got basically shapes, distribution, and frequency, and that was all we measured. There's a lot of people yelling at me saying, well, you didn't vet all these things and you didn't go out there and take soil samples. I said, look, there's 121,000 over the last 15 years or last 17 years. I can't do that, but I can add the numbers up and crunch them and look at them different ways. There's a friend of mine who did his research here in New York State, Tom Conwell. You're going to want to have him on. Tom and I were doing our research kind of in parallel, and we've shared data with each other. And Tom has done the correlation of where these things are by magnitude. He uses my book for the numbers. Okay.
Okay.
And what he has correlated them to is Native American, original Native American territories, and the UFOs seem to be incredibly interested in our waste sites, our dead strip mines, our dead oil fields, our dead gas fields, our pollution sites, our brown fields. Oh, they're interested in our fracking.
Oh, interesting. That's fascinating. I'll tell you, you're blowing my mind. I just want to tell you, I've had, I think I'm into show number 15 or 16. My show only started in August, but you're blowing my mind right now with this stuff because I just love it. I love these kind of statistics. I think they're fascinating. I think they're important. I think this work is vitally important for ufology.
Can I make one qualification? Okay,
yes,
one qualification. We used raw sighting data. Raw sighting data. So we didn't vet it any way other than if they didn't fill out enough information for us to use, we dropped those records. Or if the record was the record was corrupted, there was some corruption in some of the records. Not very many. I mean, I could count them on probably two hands, but 3% of them did not have the name of the city. So we had to take where the city should have been. We had to put in unspecified. So every single state that we crunched these things for, we had to establish an unknown county for the unspecifieds. Okay.
Wow.
And so we kept all the data to keep the magnitude so we knew exactly how big this is, but we can't, for some small portion of it, probably about 7%, we can't tell you exactly where they were.
Wow. Wow. You know, a lot of assumptions that I've had about UFO sightings and so-called UFO hotspots, you've just, you know, kind of upturned my world view of that and how some of this works. And I think it's fascinating data. Can you speculate a little bit and tell me how can researchers use this data to affect their research and their work?
I've seen people do a number of things. If you open up the book, there's a summary done for the whole United States in the front part of the book. I did 5 chapters of narrative, kind of trying to explain what we did and what it means. And then we had a breakdown for every single state. We give you the top counties. We could give you the top shapes ranked in there. Then there's a listing of every county in the state from 2001 to 2016, exactly what they had each year. And then we had a listing of the shapes and what they were for each year, not by county though. The book would have been really huge if we had done that. Right now it's 374 pages. If we had done the shapes by counties, it would have been a 700-page book. We're looking to do a cities directory. Right now we have the ability, and we couldn't do this before, but we can now. We have the ability, you give me a state, give me a county, and I can drill down to the municipal level and tell you exactly what was cited there and when, in what town it was. Okay. Which is, I've done a few samples for people on request, and it blows their socks off. The other thing I'm doing a book that's called the Cities Directory. We're working on that. And it's going to look like an a regular phone book, rows and rows and rows. Okay. But, but we are working on another book called Exotic UFO Shapes and Where to Find Them. Kind of had tie in the Harry Potter flavor there, you know. And what the flavor of this is that we took all the shapes that could be easily misidentified to being maybe an aircraft seen on the side or something like that, like cigars, cylinders, that kind of thing. We took them out. We took triangles out because too many people email me and say, oh, Cheryl, that's a TR-3B. And now I've seen one of these things. It was 2 football fields long and 3 stories deep. But okay, it's a TR-3B. Fine, great. Okay, so we took them out. But we kept all the circles, triangles, not triangles, but squares, cubes, all the really weird looking stuff. Okay. The stuff that just does not fit the laws of aerodynamics. Those are the exotic shapes. And we've got a book that's going to show you all the exotic shapes and where to find them over the last 17 years.
That's amazing. I'm speaking to my co-producer, Michael, and also the viewers. We're going to go about 1 to 2 minutes over. So We're right at a half hour right now, but this conversation has been so good. It has been so deep that it has just eaten up the entire half hour. Before I go, I want to thank Lisa P. I want to thank Sherry. I want to thank my friend Jiggy from Paranormal Hood. I want to thank Pursuing X. Once again, Doc Skinner, 1028 Productions, and all of my new friends that I made at Disclosure Con 2018. That was fascinating. Thank you once again to the community of Pine Top, Arizona, Lakeside. Thank you very much to the White Mountain Apache tribe for hosting us. You're amazing. And also the Navajo Nation Ghostbusters. We tried to do a live stream with them and it did not happen. And we are going to go back. We actually have, I'm going to do a bit of a teaser. We have an invitation to go visit the Navajo Nation in person and be shown some things. I'm not even going to get into what we talked about, but it is ancient evidence of UFOs on native lands, and we may have access to that in the future. And I'll talk more about that in detail. Cheryl, while we have everyone here at the end of the show, where can they find your podcast online? Where can they find your books?
Okay, the book is more important at this point. It's called UFO Sightings Desk Reference. The full name is UFO Sightings Desk Reference, United States of America, 2001 to 2015. All right, UFO Sightings Desk Reference, if you Google that not Google it, but if Amazon.com, search it, it's there. We publish through Amazon, so you get it from them, and they can have it to you in 2-3 days at the outside.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's cool. And what's the call letters for your radio show? Your podcast?
We are on KCOR Digital Network. If you just Google KCOR Digital Network, you'll find us, and you can either live stream us, and there's also archive shows, that sort of thing.
Cool. Are you making any appearances in person anywhere? Are you doing any conventions for the rest of the year?
I have finished up doing conventions the rest of the year. I'm currently working with a television producer for a show. The flavor behind it is, since I've got the statistics, we know how to do forensics with the numbers.
Nice.
Okay. But next year, 2019, I am booked into a solid 6 conferences across the United States, and possibly 8. Right now, 2 are still nibbling at me, and it's going to be the year of the suitcase for Cheryl Costa.
That is cool. That is so cool, Cheryl. I'm glad that things are taking off and that this book has been so well received. It's important work. And I just want to say as a note, this is a show about ufology and cryptids and paranormal. But I just want to say, as a transgender woman, a proud out transgender woman, it was so good to see you at the International UFO Congress this year and to see you win Researcher of the Year. And because I'm kind of new to this scene in a professional sense, it really informed me that the ufology community and the alternative research community in general are very open-minded, and diversity is welcome in that crowd. And it was deeply inspiring to me to see you win that award and to see everyone applaud you and give you a standing ovation when you got that. Thank you so much for being part of this world. And I think that you are adding a lot to ufology. And
thank you.
And not because you're a transgender woman, but you just happen to be a transgender woman who's contributing a lot to ufology. And I think that's how I want to be seen in this, and I think that's all any of us want. We just want to be accepted, and maybe if we're going to be judged, judge us for what we're contributing to the scene and to any, endeavor whatsoever, whether it's art or academics. But thank you, Cheryl, for being you. Thank you for being here. I want to thank everyone for watching. Normally I've got the snappy music going, but my music crapped out on me tonight, and it'll be back tomorrow. I'll figure it out. But thank you for watching. Be sure to have us back. Cheryl, please come back. I love having you on. And this is fascinating. And so this is the first time we've gone over. We've started late before, but we're 5 minutes over. But I'm going to end it here. Snappy music, boom, boom, boom. Everybody feels happy. Cheryl, thank you so much. Michael, thanks for being on that end. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the like button, smash that alert bell, and find out when we're posting new episodes. And look for Travis Walton next week. It's a great interview. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Mysterious Forces Live. Thank you. Good night. Be safe.